This video is brought to you by my wonderful patrons, such as Eve, Baticus Belmont, and Dreaded Cypher. Thank you all so much, and if you want to support the channel, consider sharing the videos around and supporting my Patreon. Now on to the main event. By the way, spoilers for Ultraman Nexus. If you don't want to get spoiled on Ultraman Nexus, which I don't recommend, don't watch this video. Ultraman Nexus is a show that put the already struggling Super Eye Productions in even more jeopardy with how it got screwed over. Nexus was part of the Ultra N project, which had a mission statement of wanting to make Ultraman projects for an older audience. However, the big tempo release of this project, a feature film prequel to Nexus titled Ultraman the Next, bombed at the Japanese box office, so things were already looking worrying for the Nexus show, and it got worse. With Nexus aiming itself at an older audience, the production team wanted a prime nighttime slot for it, but its chances of being seen by the intended audiences were squandered when it lost the much needed time slot to Gundam Seed Destiny, instead airing at a daytime slot targeting a younger audience, which was news the staff received after 12 episodes were completed, so they couldn't even change the tone to fit this new audience. These factors could contribute to Nexus having low toy sales and ratings, which caused the planned 50 episode show to become 37 episodes, with an entire story arc that had just finished being scripted at the time having to be cut out for time. With all these production problems, you would think that Nexus would be a disaster, but miraculously it's actually one of the best Ultraman series I've seen so far, and one of the best ways I've seen a dark retelling of a superhero story done. Instead of spitting on the face of the original ideals of Ultraman, it elevates those ideals for an older audience, to show why they matter in the first place. This is showcased perfectly with the first Nexus user we see in the show, Jun Hamiya. Jun was a photojournalist who specialized in wars, which has deeply traumatized him to his day. At his lowest point, he becomes the human host for Nexus, which Jun sees as a punishment for failing to protect others. He's constantly questioning why he, of all people, was gifted with such amazing powers, though his strong sense of justice pushes him to keep going and fight evil as Ultraman, even if he means he may die in the process. By the end of his tenure as Nexus, Jun comes to view the Ultraman role as less of a burden and view it as a beacon of light that humanity can come to and have a common bond in. Even when the Night Raiders, an elite defense team made to fight against evil, want to hunt him down, even if most of humanity doesn't know that he's fighting in the first place, even when he's probably learned this lesson too late and is almost dead in his final battle, he keeps fighting for the good in humanity, and that's pretty raw. However, you might have noticed I said first Nexus user. Well, that's because halfway through the show, we meet the second user of Nexus once Jun passes away. The second user of Nexus is Ren, a genetically created human who's dying from a flaw in his creation, so he spends the last of his days distracting himself by making friends and helping others. Through these bonds, Ren learns to take his life more seriously via accepting both the joys and hardships of life instead of constantly distracting himself from reality. Ren is more optimistic and upbeat than Jun, but he still has a great deal of tragedy to him, which is one of my favorite archetypes of the protagonist, so of course Ren is my favorite Ultra host in the show. As for the third Ultra host, who's really only an Ultra host for 2 minutes, Nagi is a character who's influenced and dedicated to the Night Raider system she's in to a fault, a system that ultimately manipulated her to give in to her cynicism to further its own gain. Nagi was originally going to have a multi-episode arc after Ren's final battle that apparently was almost done scripting, but as mentioned before, Nexus got cut short, so that culmination of Nagi's refusal to grow and dwell on her worst impulses was crammed into one episode, though I think it was still handled well. Her failure to transform into Nexus could be viewed as a commentary on why a dark Ultraman doesn't work, because that's not what Ultraman is. Ultraman is the ambassador of light that inspires the best in humanity, and Ultraman with a host as cynical and stubborn as Nagi just doesn't work unless they're a villainous Ultra. Which brings us to a major theme of Nexus, as shown with the primary characters discussed, being to find strength to keep going in hard times until you can do the next right thing. Compared to other Ultraman shows, the world of Nexus is harsh, with characters both minor and major dying from attacks of horrifying monsters and dealing with heavy concepts like depression, which makes the themes hit harder. While you have characters like Nagi who show the consequences of refusing to grow and give in to cynical apathy of the situation, there's characters like Jun and Ren who find the strength to keep going despite it all, which could be partially attributed to the show's main protagonist, Kazuki Kuman. Despite his protagonist status, Kuman does not become an Ultraman until the final episode, but he's always a major confidant of whoever is Nexus at the time. Unlike his battle-hardened Night Raider buddies, Kuman has a naive yet hopeful edge to him. Even when he learns that his relationship with a girlfriend is somewhat of a lie and one of the darkest stories of the show, he's ultimately compelled to keep on pushing forward to protect others. He's a character that's open to connections, whether it be with the Night Raiders or the Nexus hosts, which is one of his strongest assets that help him find his strength to ultimately save the day. Ultraman Nexus is an amazing show with a lot of depth to it that I've honestly only scratched the surface of. It may be a heavy show in both content and theming, but it's still a series about heroism and hope at its core. Nexus acknowledges that yeah, the world sucks and things aren't always gonna get better, but cynicism isn't the answer to it, empathy is. It's okay to fall down from time to time, but we need to find the strength to get back up and better ourselves. This is what makes Ultraman Nexus mature, not hard to follow violence or cringy crass comedy that's trying to be adult. It's still Ultraman at the end of the day, just with a bit more nuance to its message. Thanks for listening to me ramble about Ultraman Nexus for like 5 minutes, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all the funny YouTube buttons that are currently available at the moment, and just stay chill.